Hi and welcome to my channel. If you are new here for the first time, please like, share and subscribe. If you are returning, welcome back. A bit about me first. I'm an intuitive tarot reader. I receive messages prior to the reading through songs, through downloads, through meditation, through random little fragments of information that I receive, whether it's through just a general download or whether it's a nudge whilst I'm watching a TV show or a movie that I've been guided to watch. So this morning I was picking up heavily on the theme of children, and it was whilst I was watching and editing a reading that I'm about to upload on a dream that I had a couple of weeks ago that mirrored the story of the lice plague and Moses in the Bible. And as I started to edit that video, I kept getting download after download after download, and my ears are ringing at the moment. The downloads that were coming through is that what is playing out in the collective at the moment is mirroring the 10 plagues of Egypt, mirroring the liberation of a people that are being held captive by a Pharaoh-like individual. Now, as I said, that reading this morning had a lot of those themes in it. So if this reading does resonate with you, it will be well and truly worth your while to go back and watch that reading also. And I don't know if you can hear, but the birds here at the moment, there's lots of chitter chatter. So I'll briefly recap on those plagues that happened in Egypt. It started off with Moses requesting to set his people free and Pharaoh basically saying no. And so with the help of God, Moses brought about these 10 plagues, starting with turning all the water in Egypt to blood. And then I think there was frogs was the next plague, and then lice, which was the dream I had. And then I think animals or flies, working all the way up to the point where God's final act or final plague to show Pharaoh how powerful he was, because Pharaoh, in his Pharaoh mindset, in his ego mindset, was not listening to anybody, was not listening to Moses, was not listening to the signs that he was receiving from God. And so the final nail in the coffin was the last plague, where Moses' people were told to sacrifice a lamb, use the blood to paint it over the doors, so that when death rolled in, it would pass over those houses, which is where you get the term Passover from. And we've just had Passover. When that death came through, it took the firstborn son of every house that didn't have the red painted over the door, including Pharaoh's son. And so as I was editing this reading this morning, I had this huge epiphany, given that we've just had Passover, that collectively we are at the 10th and final plague, if you could call it a plague, by God. It's the last judgment by God, before Pharaoh effectively repented. And I was discussing this morning. I was dropping one of my children, both university students, one of them at a pro-Palestinian encampment at the university. And I'm hearing that song, "The Children Are Our Future. Treat them well and let them lead the way." What is that? Whitney Houston, The Greatest Love of All. But we were talking about these epiphanies that I'd been having as I was editing this particular reading this morning about one of these plagues. And as we were talking, and I always have my music on random shuffle, always, because there's messages, for me, messages come through music. And as we were talking about it, songs started to play, and we were talking about the children, the youth around the world standing up for the thousands of children that have died in Palestine, but in Israel, people standing up for the children, the people, the young lives that are still being held hostage And what became very evident to me was the parallels between those 10 plagues in Egypt and what's currently happening. And this Pharaoh figure right in the center of it all. A couple of weeks ago, I had a reading that I did where the term, "Oh, Captain, my Captain," kept coming through. Now, I know that from the movie Dead Poets Society, but I didn't really understand the original, the origin of it. And it's a poem that was written, and I want to say Walt Whitman, but I don't think maybe it was Walt Whitman. It was a poem that was written about the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. And the feeling I was getting in that reading was that there is going to be an attempt on the life of somebody who is a public figure. But now I'm starting to get all of these messages coming through, all of these little bits of puzzle pieces that are now starting to connect. And when you think about Pharaoh, he finally allowed those people, Moses, to take those people to their freedom because he lost his own son. And as a parent, I would not wish the loss of a child on anybody. But that was certainly the download that was coming through. And I was talking to my child about it in the car. And as we were talking about it, I was saying, how can somebody understand the grief and loss of somebody unless they experience it themselves? And whether it be the understanding of the loss of the life of children from Palestine, or whether it be those parents' anguish whilst their children are being still held hostage, or their family members are being still held hostage. How can anybody understand that unless they experience some sort of grief themselves? And as we were talking about that, on random shuffle, the Robert Miles song "Children" came on, which for me confirms the messages that I am receiving. Now I've got thousands of songs on my playlist. So when a song comes up twice, it comes up twice for a reason in the space of 15, 20 songs. I also got "Children," the Robert Miles version, the dream version of that. Maybe people having dreams of somebody in the public eye feeling the loss of a child, as Pharaoh did. Now, as I was shuffling the cards, I got the card of divine timing. Divine timing, it's all part of the plan, meaning that it's potentially mirroring something that we've seen before. I think it's in Exodus in the Bible. As I was shuffling for this reading, the dogs outside were going wild, and I actually had helicopters flying over the top of my house, so that may be significant. I did think long and hard about whether to do this reading or not, but I do believe that people are given messages because they are meant to be a messenger. And as I was contemplating whether or not I posted the reading, a big black crow was sitting outside the room that I'm in, making a hell of a noise, almost urging me to put the message out. The words mercy and no mercy popped into my head. Nobody is immune. In God's eyes, nobody is immune. Serendipity popped out of one of the decks, and the words trapped in fear. I heard the term Court of Appeal. One of the cards in this particular deck. Now, I was just shuffling. I'm not using it. This is a love messages deck, but because I was shuffling all the cards, I was shuffling this, and cards were popping out of this. So self-love popped out. Now, self-love, in the terms of Pharaoh was selfish. His self-love was taken to the extreme where he was an egomaniac until God came through with that 10th plague. He thought he was untouchable. And then finally I got the term the chosen one, or the chosen ones. Now I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that we are all God's chosen people. We are all here being given the gift of life. No one person is more important than another. No one life is more important than another. And that whole perception that a group of individuals are the chosen people may all well be good and true, but you have to act like the chosen people. You can't act like Pharaoh as if you're above the law. And we are starting to see, as I said, this mirroring, because we also have Pluto in Aquarius. Now, Pluto in Aquarius is a 248-year transit. Pluto is in Aquarius for a 20-year period. The last time Pluto was in Aquarius was the American Revolution and the French Revolution. If you look at the French Revolution, we had two Pharaoh-like characters in the French monarchy, Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI, who had their heads chopped off, along with their child, actually, all put to the guillotine. The 248 years prior to that, a Pharaoh-like character and his wife, we had Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn. Again. So it is interesting, and I'm purely putting this message out here because it's what's coming through. Take it as it resonates. So I'm going to pull some cards and see where we go. I do not know what's going to come out. Five of Pentacles. Fives of Change. That is the Moon in Libra. That is the Two of Swords. Five of Pentacles is Mercury in Taurus. Mercury is communication. That's too many. Seven of Pentacles, the Empress, Temperance, and the Queen of Cups. Temperance is divine timing, but I just want one card. I'm getting two. Ace of... So the Ace of Swords, which is a truth, and a Ten of Swords. That is how a parent feels at the loss of a child. That is how the families of the Israeli hostages feel with their children as hostages, and that is certainly 20,000-fold the feeling of the Palestinian people. That Ace of Swords for me is God saying enough. Moon in Libra. Libra is balance. You've got two sides of the argument. You've got loss of children on the Palestinian side and loss of children on the Israeli side. Both feeling loss. And the only person that can fix it, and for me, if you watch the news, the agenda of, and the people that are rioting in Israel are rioting because they believe that the war machine that's going through Gaza, and that's the garbage truck, that sound was somebody taking out the trash. God's taking out the trash. That war machine in Gaza, that the people in Israel are revolting. They're trying to get people taken out of Parliament because they don't believe that their main focus is on getting the hostages back. That Five of Pentacles there, you know, what's been... Five of Pentacles is two people outside a church being left out in the cold. Can you hear the bird? That little bird. That little bird being offered like Pharaoh was offered by Moses. That little bird being offered... Can you see him turn the other way? That little Pharaoh being offered. The gate is open. He's being offered an opportunity for resolution that doesn't involve killing any more children. I had that children's song twice. But he's being a Pharaoh. The Moon in Libra. Something hidden. God's about to take out the trash. God's about to make That's another 10. That's the family card. I believe the message I'm getting is that something is going to happen where somebody who thinks their family is untouchable, like Pharaoh, they're going to show that they are not. They're actually going to feel the pain of these families with the hostages and of the Palestinian people. And again, I was talking to one of my children a couple of weeks ago about how karma plays out. God works in mysterious ways. So when, for example, if you were somebody who experienced something like sexual abuse or assault or something like that in your life, and you feel that that person gets away with it, sometimes it's when that person then goes on to have a family and their child goes through the same trauma that that person inflicted on you. And so then their eyes are opened to what they've done. That's their karmic justice. So perhaps somebody is, somebody raped somebody, a guy raped somebody as a 20-year-old and lives his whole life. That point where he goes, oh my God, I did that to somebody else. That's what this is. And that's what happened to Pharaoh. After 10 plagues of him thinking that he was chosen, untouchable, selfish, egotistical, something then happened to him that made him completely change his mind. He lost his own child. Moon in Libra, but it's hidden. And Libra is balance. It's meant to bring in balance to a situation that is horrendously unstable. King of Wands. King of Wands on the bottom. King of Wands is earth and fire. Sometimes for me, the King of Wands is all the gear but no idea. Some of these people who are in these positions of power, who think that their strength lies in what they have around them, who they have around them, when the reality is that when it comes to their children, their hearts bleed at the loss of a child, the same as anybody else. He's up on top of the stairs. That feeling of I'm untouchable. Judgment. That's God. God calling judgment on this situation. God called judgment in those 10 plagues. Because Pharaoh was so pig-headed, God calling judgment. And in this scenario, you think about the enemies that anybody in politics makes on both sides of the fence. I mean, we could be talking about anybody in politics, really. Now, I was going to say, judgment is Pluto. And as I said, we're in that transit, Pluto in Aquarius, major revolutionary changes. Pluto in Aquarius is where you have people, because Aquarius is the people, confronting. The opposite of Aquarius is Leo. Leo is world leaders. Leo is monarchy. Leo is the top. people coming up against the top, people revolting against the top. And you can already see the anger. You can see the anger in, all of the pro-Palestine rallies that are happening. As I said, I dropped my child at one today, that are happening on campuses around the world. Now, Generation Z, which is effectively, I think it's from 1995 to 2012, that group of individuals, that generation, and this has got nothing to do with astrology or anything like that, that group of individuals are the rebels. They are known to be the rebels of society, the change makers. But you've got groups of Generation Z around the world up in arms, calling for change, calling judgment on what's happening. But you've also got people internally within Israel calling for change as well to the government, which is exactly what happened in France. You had people within France calling for change to the structure of the government, not the government, because the country was ruled by the monarchy. And they basically got rid of the monarchy and set up a democracy. So it's coming from both sides. It's coming external and internal. And it's this pointed focus of all these people rebelling from two sides of the fence, rebelling against a government, a group of individuals, a single individual within the government. Ten of Wands is pressure building. Two sides. Two sides of people, Moon in Libra. Two sides of people that are bringing to the surface with the moon what's hidden, bringing to the surface an injustice, Libra. And it's all being directed to heads of state in Israel, in America, in other countries in Europe. Wow, Moon. Moon is Pisces. Pisces is the ocean, the things that are coming up from the depths. It's like, what do they call it? Like a kettle is boiling and it's starting to explode. A trigger point, is that what it's called? It's all coming up from the depths. The Hermit is number 9. The Hermit is Virgo. And if you look in there, there is a star inside the lantern. Now, I did have that card of divine timing. It's all part of the plan. Something's being lit up. When you think of the Hermit card in the traditional drawing, it is a man that goes up to the top of a hill for silent reflection. People are starting to wake up. And this year, 2024, is the beginning of, it's the beginning of the age of Aquarius. It's the beginning of this huge collective awakening to who is controlling us and what their agenda is. Because certainly in this scenario, with this both sides of the fence, whether you're Palestinian or Israeli and fighting for the release of hostages, or absolutely disgusted by the loss of life on the Palestinian side, it's evident to everybody that there is a hidden agenda, and that loss of life is just collateral damage. And God's calling judgment. Enough is enough. Two of Wands, making plans. There's a world in the middle of there. Two of Wands is Mars and Aries. And when you think about Mars, that's the Tower card. Something's going to come crumbling down. Some structure, something, and something's going to come crumbling down. Now, at the moment, the South Node is in Libra and the North Node is in Aries. Collectively, where are we heading is towards Aries. This great soul awakening of people. Pluto and Aquarius. Aquarius, the people. This soul awakening of people. Because it's there's a light being shone on the leaders around the world and what their hidden agenda is. Eight of Wands. Eight of Wands is Mercury in Sagittarius. And again, Sagittarius is a Temperance card. Temperance is divine timing. And I had that card. It's all part of the plan. People are starting to come together now. And look, underneath that, we've got the Hierophant. The Hierophant is the God card. The contracts that we have in this lifetime, each of us as individuals, but as a collective, the lessons that we are meant to learn in this lifetime. The journey that as a collective we are on. And people are starting to awaken to the fact that the agenda for many, 10 of Pentacles, is actually money. That is Mercury in Virgo. But that is also the rich getting richer. That's Leo. This is Leo versus Aquarius. Aquarius, the people. Leo, the top echelon of society, who are literally running the show. And people are saying enough is enough. And God, with the Hierophant, is stepping in. And as I said, you know, I had that "Oh Captain, My Captain" song, which is about assassination. And it doesn't have to mean physical assassination of somebody, but it is the removal of somebody. Three of Pentacles, to build a new foundation. Holy moly, we got the Tower card. Something's being torn down, because the foundations are rotten. And now we have the Fool card, which is the 0 in the tarot, a new beginning. That is also the card of Uranus. Now, Uranus is earthquakes. Uranus symbolizes earthquakes, and we have seen a huge amount of earthquakes in the last few weeks, specifically in that ring of fire, which is right around the Pacific Ocean. But we've got Judgment and Uranus here. That is Pluto and Aquarius. When I think about the French Revolution, the French monarchy were living a lavish lifestyle. And this is in the last Pluto and Aquarius transit, which is what we are at currently in this 20-year period. The French monarchy was living this beautiful lifestyle. The people were starving, and the monarchy didn't care. They were sending money to America to fund the American Revolution, clearing out all the coffers. Basically, France had nothing left. No money left to spend. God stepped in with this Judgment card and the Fool card, which is earthquakes, natural disasters. So God stepped in that scenario, and there was an eruption of why did I want to say cyclone? There was an eruption of a volcano in Iceland, which covered the whole of Europe for 8 months. Now, that volcano hadn't erupted for 1,000 years. God stepped in with a natural disaster. That volcano and the ash cloud that it poured over Europe for 8 months destroyed every single crop. And that was the beginning of the French Revolution. They stormed the Bastille, removed the monarchy, and that's when the French monarchy, or the French democracy, started. That was how it was formed. This is what we're seeing playing out. Because we've got the Judgment card and Uranus. This is Pluto and Aquarius. And the Tower. Something is going to happen. And in direct parallel, as I said, France was giving money to America to help fund their American Revolution. And at the moment, we see all of these countries giving money to Israel to help fund what's happening there. So this scenario can play out across any of these countries where somebody understands loss of life through something that God does. And then it gives them a different perspective of what's happening in their own backyard. Four of Wands, what's happening in their own backyard? Four of Wands is Venus in Aries, and the Nine of Wands is the Moon in Sagittarius. $19 Wands there. Four of Wands is your family structures, your and the Lovers. The Lovers used to be called the Choice card. The Lovers is Gemini. When you think about Gemini, you think of the twins. This is mirroring what's happened in previous Pluto and Aquarius transits. It's also mirroring some of the stories that we saw in that Exodus. And more so, I would say, because that story is more prevalent within the people in the religious beliefs of those countries that are involved in this conflict. So it has greater weight. And when you think about, and for many, many weeks, I was hearing the song, Father Abraham has many sons. And the Abrahamic faiths are Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. All of those religions are represented in this conflict. And all of those religions believe in Moses. They are all Abrahamic faiths. They all come from that origin, that core origin. Now, they do diverge out, but their core beliefs, that story of Moses and the plagues, is known by all of those religions and is written in the respective texts of all of those religions. So it would make sense, if God is taking the wheel, that the lessons that are learned during this process, during this awakening of this people, is played out in a format, in a text, in a storyline that they are all aware of. And Eight of Wands again underneath. Eight of Wands again is Mercury in Sagittarius. Mercury is communication. So as I said, a storyline that they are all familiar and aware of. Something's going to happen fast. We've got, at the Eight of Wands is the fastest card. It's on the bottom of the deck though. So it's things you can't see yet, hidden. And we've got the Moon and the Moon in Libra here. The Tower, shocking, something that's shocking. A surprising event that happens fast. Okay, this is my Divine Messages Oracle deck. Soul Family. This is, as I said, we have got the three Abrahamic faiths within this whole big story that's playing out in the Middle East. Part of a huge collective soul family with one underlying story that they are all aware of, and that is the story of Moses, the story of Exodus. Playfulness. Why have we got playfulness? That's a bit weird. Let me get a card on that. Oh, I just heard somebody, it's all a game. To some people, it's all a game. The world, some people in this scenario think that the world is their stage to play a big game. Ish. We got the Death card on the bottom. That is Saturn. The world is Saturn. Saturn 21, the end of a cycle in the tarot. That's the last card of the tarot. 2024 is number 8. Number 8 is karmic lessons and abundance coming in. And we've got the card of legacy. What will you be remembered by? What will you be remembered by in terms of what you stand up for? And from a perspective of those people in government, what will be their legacy? I mean, I know, you know, if you look at Joe Biden, he's already, the name is Genocide Joe. Because it's a game, playfulness, it's a game. A game they're playing on the world stage with this collective of people, because there's not an emotional investment in it until something happens to somebody within their family, and then they understand how the parents of the hostages and how the families, relatives, parents of, and I'm saying children because that children's song came out twice, those children in Palestine feel. That's when things change and it becomes not a game anymore. Yes, that's confirmation to me that what I'm saying is the truth. If it doesn't serve you, cut it out. This is the time for people to stand up for what they believe in. Completion, that's the World card. This is the time. The time is now for people to stand up. What is your legacy as a person? And as I said, you know, I sat there thinking, do I want to put this reading out? But at the end of the day, I don't want to see anybody's children hurt. I want everybody to live in peace and harmony. And as somebody who is part of this Abrahamic faith, these 3 groups of religions, no one is more deserving of the other. And to get what you want, you shouldn't have to tread on other people, because to me, that's not living in a godlike frequency. Divine counterpart. Now, these 3 faiths, divine counterpart, they're brought together, soul family. They're part of a soul family, brought together to learn collectively these lessons. How can you be part of one Abrahamic faith, but it's like fighting siblings? And as a parent, that's painful. Yeah, brought together to grow and evolve. This is our point of evolution. As I said before, the collective is awakening. It's a big soul awakening, which is what you want to be your legacy. Yeah, elevation. That's exactly what I just said, elevation. And follow your gut. Don't be afraid to talk about what you think, because conversation actually brings enlightenment. Struggling with personality patterns, which is what we're seeing at the moment. People too fixated on their own beliefs to even engage in somebody else's thought process. And that was Pharaoh. Now, this is my Angel Oracle deck. Who is working with us at this particular point in time of our soul's evolution? Rochelle, 69, discovery. A 17, Asalea, divine contemplation. Making us reflect. That's that Hermit card and the Moon. Making us reflect on what's actually happening. $23, Melahel, healing and courage. Giving us the strength to heal, to fix what's broken, to recognize that everybody's in pain. Number 5, Mahasya, harmony and occult wisdom. Number 59, Harahel, fertility and abundance. Number 55, that's change. Mebahia, good deeds and soul growth are coming together. And you see that on campuses around the world. You've got different groups. You've got Jewish youth groups and Palestinian youth groups and Christian youth groups all coming together. These kids all coming together to unite for one cause. Rahael, heals the sick. Number 39. Doctors, nurses coming from around the world, working in hospitals, losing their lives in hospitals in order to help children that have lost limbs. Joy, divine communication. Haniel, that's one of the archangels. And number 21, Nelchel, learning and spiritual protection. Those people that are choosing to heal these situations, to grow and evolve with the collective, are protected. They're spiritually protected. And I'm hearing that Niall Horan song, Meltdown, when it all melts down. That's that tower. Yeah, we all bleed the same, don't we? Okay, finally I'm going to get some Scrabble tiles, letters and numbers on here and see what comes out. Okay, just going to get those. So we've got an M and a 3, an O and a 1, an E and a 1, an F and a 4, an R and a 1, a T and a 1, a B and a 3, an X and an 8, a Q and a 10, a V and a 4, a H and a 4, a P and a 3, a J and an 8, and an I and a 1. So that's the message that I have for you. Thank you so much for joining me. I will continue to put these messages out as I receive them, even though some of them may be a bit controversial. But if, like me, you are watching from the sidelines and you are feeling helpless, and something that somebody says like me maybe gives you a different perspective of what other messages people are receiving, then I believe it's part of information that you are meant to hear, whether you agree or don't agree with it. I would never try and impart my beliefs on other people. I am purely just a messenger. So as I said, thanks again for joining me. If you haven't already, like, share and subscribe. The decks I've used today are all my own tarot and oracle decks. I'm an illustrator, so if you are interested in any of those, you can find the links to those in the description box. I will also link the songs that came through in this reading as well. There may be more messages in those songs. Thanks again, and I will see you again in another reading.